Hi, today I want to talk about something some of you may or may not have had. It's Rosé, R-O-S-E with an accent on the end of the E, or over the E. Anyway, I'll show you that in the little whatever. So what is a rosé? That's a big question a lot of people have. I run into this all the time. I'll say, do you like rosés? And, oh, I don't like sweet wines. Well, technically, rosés are not sweet. They're dry. The ones that are kind of the pinkish color and are really sweet, those would be called blushes. So officially, rosé is not sweet. You might have a little sweetness. You might some more like an off dry, possibly. But anyway, let's talk about rosés and how they're made. Got one right here. This is kind of a typical color, which I think you can kind of see that on there. A lot of times they're kind of a pinkish color or a light orange color. And we'll just do a little bit of it here. Let's see what we got here to start with. This one is out of France, which is a real common area. The Provence region, for example, kind of the south part of the Rhone River, right about where it meets up with the Mediterranean Sea. Anyway, so rosés, what are they really? Well, these are made a little differently than the typical white wine or the typical red wine. Red wines, for example, they harvest the grapes, they do a little crush on them in a tank. They let them, release the juice, crush the berries enough so where that comes out. That's a typical way to do it. There's other ways too, but essentially, what you're doing is taking the juice from the grape and leaving it in contact with the skins and possibly seeds, stems, and other things during the fermentation process. So what this does, a lot of people don't realize this, but the skin contains almost all of the color for a wine and a lot of the flavor. So if you are taking a lot of the what's typically thought of as red grapes, well, they're red on the outside. If you just take the juice and squeeze it out, you'll find that the juice is pretty much clear. So what happens when you do a white wine? Well, a lot of times the grapes are in fact white or grayish color, yellowish color, depending. But they, again, still tend to squeeze the juice out and then ferment it. So with red grapes, you typically ferment the juice in contact with the skins, and that leaches out the color, a lot of flavor, and things of that sort. So white wines, squeeze the juice, ferment the juice by itself. So what is a rosé? Well, it comes in between. This is where you take the grapes, typically what you would be considered a red grape. You take those grapes, squeeze the juice out, but leave them in contact with the skins for a very short period of time. It might just be a couple hours, might be a little longer, but it would be rare for it to go over a day, as I understand it. So you get just a little bit of that color, where it gets this kind of pinkish, orangish color, and you get a little bit of that flavor. And then once they've let it set for whatever amount of time, that's up to the winemaker to determine that. Then they will take that juice and ferment it, basically like they would ferment a white wine. Just take the skins away, go ahead and go through the fermentation process, and then bottle it up and out the door. So this is what you get instead of a red wine. You get a rosé. Let me give it a sample here. I do love those. I rediscovered them some time back. For a long time I thought I didn't like rosés. Well, it turned out to be just a handful I really didn't care for. I ordered in a case, this is some time ago, long before I opened the store. Ordered in a case of rosés, and it was a mixed case, so I had 12 bottles, 2 bottles each of 6 different labels. So I started with one that was, I believe it was a rosé out of Rioja in Spain, which I love Rioja reds. So I tried that. It was just amazing. I did another one. It was a Malbec out of Argentina rosé. Again, an amazing wine. So I pretty much burned through all those pretty quickly and did discover one I didn't like, which was the same type that I thought I didn't like, that made me think I didn't like any rosés. But anyway, that's a little story of my own back there. So what you got here with the rosé is a wine that is kind of really good for people who normally prefer reds, because you get a little bit more flavor out of it, and a little bit more on the nose than you would a typical white, and just makes for a really good wine. So anyway, I hope that helps you. I want to encourage you to send me any questions you might have, and I'll leave that in the end card. In the meantime, cheers.